Very often they come from a traditional sphere, but they have developed into something radically different. What does that mean? Let me give you an example. When we looked at our overall development, manufacturing, and service processes, and decided to implement a new tool set, we had a lot of ideas in each of the functions. But we also knew that the real change in a digital sense will only happen when we think about all these processes in an integrated fashion. So instead of saying, well, can we develop more efficiently, we said, how would it be if we would reduce the time to market by 50%? So a radical goal and a radical outcome goal. And we did. We implemented a tool set which is highly integrated, which allows us to simulate how the manufacturing process works during the design process in real time. So we are able to not only test 1, 2, 3, 4 prototypes, we're actually able to test thousands of prototypes in a virtual way. And this does not only lead to better products, but also in a much faster time. So yesterday we only looked at how our train's running and that we have the best trains in the market. And customers like Renfe, a long-term customer of Siemens in Spain, they liked our trains and they bought them, which is good. But now things have changed. Because what they look at is actually how can they provide their best service, for example, connecting Madrid to Barcelona. And we are their partners in it. We guarantee Renfe 99.9% availability. They can, with this collaboration, guarantee that to their customers that their trains arrive on time. What does that mean? 60% of their customers formerly have used the alternative, which means taking an airplane from Madrid to Barcelona, and today they use the train. So it's radically changing the model. It's not just bringing one person from one place to the other, but assuring that this happens exactly in time, and through this guarantee enhance their business opportunities in their market. And that's a collaboration between the train operator, Renfe, and the train provider, Siemens. What we did is we created a picture of the future. For each of our businesses, we said, how is this business going to develop in the next 15, 20 years? It's pretty challenging. Sometimes you don't know exactly what's happening next quarter, and we looked so far into the future. But it was actually extraordinarily helpful. And through this, we made very significant portfolio decisions. For example, that we invested 10 billion euros into software business in the last 10 years. So very, very significant investments of enhancing our offering from electrification, automation, into the digitalization field. What is important is to have a very clear view where you go, and then you can go back and say which kind of actions you have to take and which kind of priorities you have to set to enhance your business into a digital world. A lot of companies are disrupted by digital models. Some people say in the last 15 years, only half of the 500 Fortune companies, top companies, are still around. Why? Very often because their businesses were disrupted by digital models. How do you make sure that a company like Siemens, with a history of 170 years, is leading also in the future? First of all, you have to have a very, very strong vision. We did this, we created a picture of the future where our different industries are going. We did this, for example, for our business where we provide services and products and solutions to industrial customers. We described a picture of the future and then invested heavily in enhancing our traditional product portfolio by software portfolios, by simulation systems. Siemens invested in the last 10 years more than 10 billion euros in this area. But you also have to make sure that your processes internally are adequate for providing digital services and digital businesses to our customers. So inside IT, for example, we are driving more and more agile working modes so that we have very fast cycles of improvement, deep understanding of our customers, using design thinking. How does good look like? And how do you implement this very fast in agile teams? At the beginning of the year, we did the first Siemens-wide global hackathon, 1,700 participants working on creative ideas, a lot of them from a digital sphere, and these ideas are now going to be implemented in our businesses, but also internally to improve our processes. To prioritize a real digital thinking at board level, you first of all have to be out there. And when you look in Siemens, each of the board members, each of the division leaders, the business unit leaders, they're out there with their customers all the time. They're also out there to deeply understand what do technological changes mean to our business model. On top of this, our team at Corporate Technology describes, as I mentioned, pictures of the future for each of our business. How does our business look like in 10, 15, 20 years down the line? Out of this, we take decisions. What are the best portfolio setups? Which kind of competences we have to include in our businesses? The only thing that makes that you can lead in a digital world is deeply understanding technological changes, deeply understanding what your customers do, and being able to implement this really fast inside your own company. Everyone in the organization understands the opportunities, but also the challenges. We live in a world which is highly volatile, which is very much uncertain, which is complex and ambiguous. You never know exactly what certain developments actually mean. And on top of this, it's changing exponentially. And if everyone in the organization understands these implications, you have to be able to adjust to those. You have to really drive these changes which are going into a digital world. And I think that's important. The first important element is always for change, why? Why do you have to change? And we make this very clear in our organization. Siemens is a company that operates at a completely global scale. So if you think about what is required to really be able to implement a highly advanced organization at a global scale, it needs a lot of advanced infrastructure tools. This starts with your mobile phone, which at the beginning it was maybe to make a phone call. Today, I'm personally daily on video conferences, on conference calls with colleagues around the world, and practically everybody in our company is. So being highly interconnected and having a highly performant infrastructure that supports these kind of developments is absolutely mission critical. You need to be able to collaborate also in agile teams cross borders and sometimes cross time zones with colleagues that are, for example, in Portugal or in India working on one project jointly. We just acquired actually a company, Mentor Graphics. Mentor Graphics is supporting our design processes on the electronic side, as they are for many customers around the world. We integrate those tools in our overall tool set, not only for the external market, but also internally. Secondly, we implement more and more tools that allows us to work virtually together, where people in one place can almost feel like they are in the same place as somebody else, sitting potentially 1,000 kilometers away. So bringing the real tools into the overall infrastructure environment inside the company that allows to support the go-to-market strategy. It also means having a very clear strategy on what are the harmonization tools you use. How do you go to market with your CRM support? Of course, using there a lot of cloud means using, in this specific case, from our provider SAP HANA, in our ERP backbone, which allows us to get information much faster and be able to take decisions faster, and at the end of the day with this being faster to market. We have a global IT organization that's centralized. Although many of our people sit in different divisions or they sit in different regions, at the end of the day they report into one global IT organization, which assures that we have one governance and one base platform strategy. But it's only successful if at the same time you allow to build on these platforms applications that are really addressing the specific requirements of our different businesses, be it in energy, in automation, or in mobility, and that cater to the different regional requirements in the Americas, in Asia, or in Europe. And that's exactly the mix that we assure through the global IT organization. It starts very simple. It starts with a mindset. Everybody, especially in centralized departments, for example, like the IT organization, it has to be clear that at the end of the day, we are only successful if we are successful in the market. So I expect also in the IT organization from every one of my team members to reflect over, together with colleagues on the business side, what are their real needs? What do they need to, which kind of information do they need? How can they address customer requirements best? How can they evaluate which kind of requirements are important for our next product delivery? And if you have this very close interaction with leaders on the sales side, the development side, the manufacturing side, and the IT colleagues, then you can assure that we are also delivering to these requirements. The question is, how do we do this? What we defined were 5 major trends: full integration of the virtual and the physical product, or simulation, using simulation completely through the whole process so you can already see what's happening tomorrow before it's happening. And we go then through with our divisions and say, what do these trends mean for your business? And then the next step is that we define together with the business leaders, how do we implement the right support structures that we can generate also to those or cater to those requirements together with the business. So really being IT kind of the trusted partner in the digitalization journey of our businesses. It starts by understanding what are these changes. Now, yesterday, to stay with the example of Airbnb, yesterday a hotel chain worked in a pipeline mode, which means they provided all the services directly to their customers. And then somebody comes by and says, well, I don't need one hotel bed to provide this service. I just need a platform, and I bring together a provider with somebody who needs the service, for example, a room during Oktoberfest in Munich, and I rent it directly from you. So a platform, and then with applications, and really a two-sided platform bringing providers and customers together. One could say, well, this is great, but what does it have to do with an industrial business? Well, it's actually not that radically different. But it only works if through a platform you have all this information available. We provide this platform, and then we provide applications that are based on this platform and can optimize the processes. And here comes the interesting part in which we learn from the consumer world. While historically we might have provided most of the applications, today we open our platforms up for other providers. So there are many other providers that can build on our MindSphere platform their applications that might use and optimize very specific situations for their end customers. But it's all based on one platform, MindSphere. When you think about cybersecurity, which becomes so much more important, not only in a consumer environment, but especially in an industrial environment, you have to make sure several things. One is you have to make sure that your own systems are stable. Not long ago, we all had to see that, actually it was in May, to be exact, May 12th, that WannaCry came around. And it was absolutely critical that we had a team in place that assured that all our internal computers were safe because they were updated to the latest version of software and nothing happened to them, which we were quite successful with. And we have heard that very leading companies around the world had some serious issues. So how do you make this happen? How do you ensure it? And we all know you can never be 100% secure. But what you definitely need is a very clear governance on information security. Second, you need a team that's highly dedicated, has a deep understanding, and works very closely with the infrastructure team around the world. And last but not least, you need a network of providers you can trust, that feel that their success is clearly based on your own success, and making sure that your environment is safe against hackers, for example, as we have seen before. Externally, when you look at the products that Siemens offers, and when you, for example, would have the opportunity to go to the next Hanover Fair, at every fair you find new products coming out which are more secure than ever before. Why? Because we have a team that's fully dedicated to security in our own products when we bring them to markets. We have customers that work in highly sensitive industries, and they want to be sure they can trust somebody who can provide the products that are highly secure and very, very difficult to enter from somebody who shouldn't. Well, long term, the answer is easy. We talked about how many companies actually disappear because they missed the digitalization train. So the question is just, are you still around? Are you still successful? Then you obviously were successful. The question, however, is how do you measure it in the steps going there? So when we decided we would embark into a very significant expansion of our traditional businesses into the digitalization field, when we decided we invest up to now $10 billion only in adding software businesses to our portfolio, we want to see that also from a financial perspective. Not only in the long term it's positive, but all during the journey. And when you look today at our portfolio, we're growing actually in the digital side with double digit, and we have an extremely high profitability there. So obviously a very attractive investment and a very attractive trend to make Siemens much stronger. Second, it's internally. And internally, we measure it by assuring that our business partners, that they give us the feedback that we really support them on the journey, driving their digital business to the market. Or we have, we bring in the crazy ideas from the company. You know, it's great. In a company with 350,000 people, you always have good ideas. The challenge is, how do you bring them in and get them into your process? So I think it's very critical first to invest clearly in your external markets. Your digital business has to grow, has to be profitable, so then you're long-term strong. And secondly, internally, to have the right process and reinvent yourself again and again and again, and be ready for change, and be sure that everybody in your team is ready for change.